Now, listen, you guys, Drake's album is finally here. We're going to be discussing about that. And we're also going to be discussing about him posting Nicki Minaj and how the Barbz are reacting to that. And at the same time, Cenat is responding to TDE manager who accused him of being salty. And we're also going to be discussing about these conspiracy theories behind why Kendrick is now getting the industry backing. And also, you guys, an update about, Jay-Z and this entire lawsuit. Now, these are some of the things that we are going to be talking about in this video. Hello, tea lovers, and welcome to the tea plug. I trust you guys are doing well, and I trust you are doing great. Personally, I am doing great. You guys, I am doing extremely amazing. And without further ado, let us dive straight into today's tea. So first of all, let us talk about Judas Degrassi. So yeah, Judas Degrassi and Party Next Door decided to drop their album. I mean, people have been expectant of this album because this is going to be an indication of whether his career is actually over or whether he's still able to do the numbers that he was doing, previously without the industry support. This project is away from UMG, so they are not backing him up. Obviously, you guys do know that this means there is not going to be any payola, at least from UMG. Okay, so that being said, let us talk about the album itself, the outstanding moments and stuff like that. Now, personally, what do I think about this album? If I were to be asked to rate it, I would probably give it an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 because it really is a great album, you guys, honestly. And I do feel like that was very clever of him to come back, in his sort of R&B bag, because had he decided to drop an album that is strictly rap, I don't know if he was going to be able to deliver, because now it's constant comparison now between Kendrick Lamar's recent album and his, and the fact that he decided to go to a completely different route. I do feel like he did that intentionally because boy oh boy, the standards were going to be very high for him had he decided to go strictly rap. Okay, but that being said, let us talk about some of the things that this man is out here addressing. First of all, Melissa Ford. Okay. It seems like Drake has decided to take shots at Joe Budden. Now, am I surprised about this? Absolutely not. Joe has been on Drake's almonds for the longest of time, like literally sitting on his nuts. So I'm not mad at Drake for taking, a shot at, Joe Budden. This is what he said in one of his songs. And I do know Melissa Ford is sitting like, okay, now why am I in this entire situation? He said, Melissa Ford, you're a legend from the six. Dislike to see you with a D sucker. Okay, this was obviously him referring to Joe Budden as a D sucker. And for those of you guys who do not know, back in the day, Melissa Ford and Drake dated for for a while, and during the same time that he was also saying Tokara. Okay, so there is a history over there also. And so yeah, let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about this. Do you think that Joe Budden is going to respond to this, and what do you think he's going to say? Because I mean, if he does say that Drake is a corpse, to me, I don't think that is a corpse yet. Because yesterday, the way people were going crazy about this thing, like trying to criticize the album before the album even dropped. I'm like, if you guys knew that this man is a corpse, you wouldn't have been worked out the way that you guys were worked up yesterday. Okay, so honestly, the corpse clap back. I do hope that he comes back with something better, because I mean, for a corpse, you sure talk about him so much. Like, so are you telling me that on your podcast, since you talk about him every single time, you're giving eulogies? Is that what you're saying, Joe Biden? Because you're saying that Drake is a corpse, yet not one episode of your podcast goes by without you mentioning this man. So what are you really? Are you a priest, like giving eulogies at at people's funerals? But that being said, of course, he also took the time to address, all of these people who turned on him, basically saying that, listen, I've done right by a lot of people, but it seems like even those people that I've done right by, they are still out here, not doing right by me as well. And he did mention the scammies as well. And I did see people criticizing him, saying that, well, he only has 5 scammies, so it's not like it's a fake flex. It's not like he's got a lot of those. He's jealous because Kendrick has got more scammies and stuff like that. And I would just like to debunk that he could never be jealous of Grammys because before, way before this entire Kendrick Lamar beef, when he had gotten a Grammy, he decided to boycott the Grammys. So for you guys to say that he really desires to have a lot of Grammys, I mean, come on. This is the man who boycotted the Grammys. That if he had continued to pander and kiss behind, he probably would have collected I don't know how many. So yeah, that being said, you guys, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Now, we're gonna talk about the Barbz. It seems like there is a conversation currently on Twitter with some Barbz feeling like, well, now they have to support Drake because he did post a t-shirt, a top actually, with a Nicki Minaj picture and quoted one of their songs and said, he asked my sign, I said a sag, I'm a star, sheriff badge. What's the point? If I'm getting double D up etches, Dolly Parton. Okay, so because of this, you guys, like people were like, oh my god, Young Money is alive, Young Money is this, Young Money is no more. Sorry to break it to you, but no, we're not doing this. No, no, no. If you're going to listen to this man, please listen to him just because you like his music, okay? Please don't go and, massively stream, his stuff just because, well, back in the day, there used to be a team. No, 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 no. Nicki went through her stuff by herself, and Drake was out there bringing out Nicki's ops. So allow Drake to fight his own battle. If you are going to be supporting him, please let it be because you love his music and you love him, not because, oh my God, they're Young Money. There used to be a team with Nicki Minaj. On behalf of Nicki Minaj, we're supporting this man. Please don't do it. Please don't do it because none of these fan bases were doing the same for Nicki Minaj. So please don't feel obligated to support Drake because of a non-existent relationship between him and Nicki Minaj. I'm just saying, okay? But anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Personally, I do find it interesting that now that's when he wants caught Nicki Minaj. Like, how convenient, how convenient. Both of them and Lil Wayne, I'm just like, listen, yeah, continue doing what you were doing, you guys. Anyway, the next thing that we are going to be talking about, Barbz also feels some type of way because not only was Ice Spice featured, but Lottery Ticket as well. And so some fans of Nicki Minaj were like, listen, he has an obsession with working with anybody who goes against Nicki Minaj. I mean, Lottery Ticket was out there calling Nicki Minaj out of her name and stuff like that. And so, I mean, honestly, I don't have energy for this. Okay, I don't have energy for this. Lottery allegedly goes with 21 average. This is not the first time that she has worked with Judas Degrassi, and as it pertains to Paprika Spice, honestly, I don't know at this point what the vibe is or why they decided to include Paprika Spice's vocals on their album. Only they know. However, do whatever you will with this information. I will not impose my opinions on you when it comes to supporting Judas Degrassi. Personally, like I told you, I do not care for him like that. Now, the next thing that we are going to be talking about, we're going to talk about Kai Cenat. Yesterday, I told you guys that, well, TDE management was out there accusing Kai of being salty because according to them, he was not able to access the TDE suite. So that's why he went on his live stream and alluded to Kendrick Lamar's performance being heavily edited. And, he was accusing the NFL producers, I don't know, producers of the show or whoever, for adding crowd noises, crowd sounds to his performance. And so yeah, Kai came out and basically debunked the whole thing, saying that these guys are lying. And I do believe him because he was saying that, listen, I've got my own suite, and I don't think he doesn't strike me of the as the kind of person who would just because maybe he doesn't get access to something, he will then start to be spiteful. He really does not strike me as that type. So I will give him I will actually believe him this time. And I don't know why this manager would come out and say something like this publicly, because now it's beginning to feel like as long as you have got something that may not go along with the narrative that they are trying to paint about Kendrick, they come up with these entire things of trying to discredit you and stuff like that. It is absolutely not a good look, in my own opinion. And the next thing that we are going to be talking about, we're going to talk about, this thing that I saw on Twitter, and I was like, well, this is quite an interesting take. Now, personally, especially when it comes to things that are spiritually and stuff like that, I don't really like to talk about where I was not, because things of the spirit can be complicated. So this man here, who allegedly is that man from Fraudulent Nation's ex best friend, is coming out talking about the reason why Kendrick is getting the industry support, according to these conspiracy theories that is coming with. Now, I will say that in as much as sometimes when it comes to things that you cannot prove, I'm just like, I do also love a good conspiracy theory, okay? Bring it on. I mean, give it some flesh, give it some legs, and trust me, I will be entertained. So this man is claiming that the reason why Kendrick all of a sudden is getting propelled by the music industry is because he has gone through a ritual where he dressed in a skirt. And that's the reason why he, And that's the reason why he's, oh my goodness, people can be ridiculous. And that's the reason why he's now getting all these cameras and stuff like that. And another person even said that, well, he wore the bell bottoms for a reason, because it was a ritual. Now, Now, listen, you guys, honestly, I don't think this is such a good conspiracy theory. First of all, because I don't think that if that was the case, if all you had to do was to, wear a skirt and, wear some bell bottoms, I don't think that Drake would have had an issue with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, if it were a situation where Kendrick's nemesis is one that would never wear a skirt or one that would never wear any feminine clothes, I would understand saying that, well, they went with the one who agreed to wear feminine clothes. But Drake is really not. Like, if it was all about wearing, these feminine things, I'm sure Drake would have jumped at the first opportunity. This is the same man who does not feel insecure about painting his nails, doing the little I don't know what to call them, putting the little ghost crunches in his head, the bobby pins. He has done all of those things, pouting his lips when he's taking pictures. So based off of that, you guys, I don't think that the reason why Kendrick is getting this push is because he agreed to wearing a dress, because Drake would wear a dress, Drake would wear a pantyhose, Drake would wear a bum short if they would have asked him to. So based off of that, you guys, I absolutely don't believe this logic. But anyway, let me just insert you guys what this man had to say, and let me know what you think about that. Do you also find this hilarious and absolutely ridiculous to believe like myself? Or are you subscribing to the notion that, listen, maybe there was a ritual performed for the man to get the hype that he is getting?
What is the final objective of Freemasonry, the great work? The final objective, or the great work, is to lead everyone into a Luciferian doctrine, to lead the masses into Satanism and accepting the beast system and Satan as the one true God of this world. And in order to do so, you need a social cataclysm, you need a race war, you need war, famines, plagues, unrest. If you read Albert Pike's 1871 letter to his brother about the 3 world wars, World War III states that Islam and Zionism would mutually wipe itself out or tire itself out. Anyone disillusioned with Christianity will fall by the wayside and accept Lucifer as their God, because they'd be looking for a false Messiah to save them during the social cataclysm, civil war, and unrest. Any social movement that the Negro created in this country has failed. But somehow, now think that a man that had to wear a skirt to get a halftime Super Bowl performance isn't controlled shows how disillusioned and delusional in this country are. Oh, because he said the revolution would be televised? Whose revolution you think he's talking about? If they're trying to get everybody in the beast system, why would you think that the creator of football, who was a skull and bonesman from Yale, the National Football League, which is Masonically controlled, Jay-Z, a Prince or Freemason, who controls the halftime show for the white Masons, what makes you think he has free will to start a protest during one of the biggest games of this country and not be controlled, not be managed. The 1960s civil rights movement failed, and is being exposed as being masonically managed, and its foundation of lies was based on Rosa Parks sitting in the front of the bus, and the whole time her husband had a car. The Black Panther movement failed because it couldn't sustain its numbers, and one of its leaders was infiltrated by Greek organizations and Freemasonry. Black Lives Matter failed because three lesbian women, kowtowed and step and fetch to George Soros. This is another failed social experiment. Y'all just don't see it yet because you are so high and mighty on your color and not really your biblical nation. Anything that separates us from the Most High is always going to fail us. That's all up and down
Well,
Deuteronomy.
there you heard that, you guys. Now, the next thing that we are going to be talking about, we're going to talk about Jay-Z. Allegedly, he is no longer taking it never happened as his defense. Allegedly, he's now arguing on the basis of technicalities in as far as the laws in question are concerned. So I'm just like, so he's no longer going with, I didn't do it, but he's going with, well, even if I have done it, well, there is no law that would, be applied, that would be applicable to that crime as at that time. So let me just insert you guys, the law head explaining exactly what is going on with that case. Lately, people have not been covering it. People, I don't know, seem to have decided, well, it doesn't matter anymore. But let me insert what this man had to say, and then I will catch you guys after that.
He and Diddy. Jay-Z has filed his motion to dismiss against the victim who has alleged that he and Diddy, 13-year-old back in 2000. Now, I know you've heard these, that he keeps filing, and his original filings were always based upon the fact that the girl is a liar. Which, at the time, I said, just calling somebody a nana boo-boo liar is not what's going to get something dismissed. So it looks like it has been revamped. And in the revamping, what they have done is now said that the law 100% does not fit. If it does not fit, you must acquit. So they're saying the law does not fit. Here is the backwards ass, and this is my cursory reading of what has filed their 12B6 motion to dismiss, reads a lacking, let's say, of fundamental logic. What they're doing is, this is a civil complaint. They're using criminal logic to try to convince the judge that they should dismiss the civil case. They are arguing what are called ex post facto laws. And here's the easiest way to describe it. They're saying, can't make this up, the Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, which was created in 2000 to give victims who are victims of somebody simply targeting them just because of their sex, an avenue of which that they can file civil claims, that they can go backwards in time to file civil claims. The argument is, wait for it, you, judge, need to throw this case out because at the time that the law was passed, we hadn't done anything wrong. Translation, they are saying, look, these allegations against us happened 3 months before the law was even passed. So that's ex post facto. And if that's the situation, we wouldn't have even known that it was against the law. A simplest way to explain it, at the time, this wasn't a civil remedy. So since it wasn't a civil remedy at the time, you can't get me in trouble for it. Now that works in criminal elements, and that works for criminal aspects completely. It does not work for civil. So what they're saying is the civil penalties are criminal in nature, so it is basically criminal. Give you an example. So they're basically saying the following. If Congress passed the law that said anybody whose family, cousins, so forth, ever owned slaves back in the day, all of y'all are looking at 30. Well, the argument would be, well, at the time it was legal. How can you punish me for me now because I didn't know? That's what Jay-Z is saying through his lawsuit is, look, at the time, who knew it wasn't a crime to do stuff to 13-year-olds, basically. And so how would I know? That's not fair. I'm not on knowledge. And then secondly, they're arguing there's something called the Child Victims Act, and there's also the Adult Survivor Act. And they're saying both of those would have given this person avenue in which they could have sued under there, and she should have sued under there and not sued under there because the statute of limitations has run. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. I'm usually not a fan of quasi saying, yeah, maybe we did it, but the statute has passed, so you can't sue me under it, especially in Jay-Z's unique situation, because his best case scenario is he wins. And he has to tell the world, I like to teach the world to sing. He has to tell the world that I won on a technicality because it possibly could have happened, but because it was 3 months after the passage of this rule, she shouldn't be allowed to bring this lawsuit whatsoever. I think if you are going to win on this type of technicality, you probably should have just given her the money that she asked for. Because remember, this is not criminal in nature, this is civil. So this ex post facto, and they're saying under the law, there's not something written that it applies backwards. Doesn't make a lot of sense because everybody under this law, it basically says that you can bring these suits from a long time ago, so long as you bring it in this narrowly tailored window. His lawyers are saying if you read that statute, it is not fair to Jay-Z because he wouldn't have known. Take that, take that, take that, take that, take that. And take that fucking dumbass argument out of here.
Welcome to the MAGA Minute. It's been